I mean, for the YouTube subscribers. Also subscribe already. Hit the fucking like button and subscribe before I knock your ass out, man. I ain't fucking with you, man.
What is up? What is up, everybody? Another UFC event means I'm back for you guys, giving out some more free winners. UFC Vegas 35 this weekend. Fun main event we have scheduled between Barboza and Chikadze. The Georgian, we have the Ultimate Fighter finals as well. I'll be going over the main card like usual. Most of the fights at least, providing free picks, leans, and fights to stay away from and avoid. Sweep last week, guys. Sweep last week for clients, 4-0. All plays, 10-2 client run currently. Last week's video, ton of free winners. The two fights I told you to avoid were the two upsets. And the ones to stay off, that heavyweight fight between the Porter. Porter pulled off the win there. And the Jones fight, the short notice. I told you to stay off that one as well. You don't need to bet every fight on the card. When I tell you guys to avoid fights, look into avoiding the fight. It's either due to the price is off, the price is too high, there's a short notice, a guy hasn't fought for like a year or 2 years. So always look at those type of scenarios when I'm saying to avoid fights. You don't have to bet on all fights. And last week it showed that you don't have to bet on all fights with the Porter and the Jones fight with the last minute replacement. We're on the Cannonier and the over 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 rounds was my favorite play in that fight. The Cannonier fight obviously was close, super close. He found a way to win though. I don't see any way how Gastelum won that fight. There may be a few guys saying Gastelum won the fight. I do not agree with that. Cannonier won the fight. He had the more impactful strikes in the fight. He looked better in there, in my opinion. You're not going to knock out Gastelum. I probably could even went this fight goes the distance, but I played a little more safe with the 2.5 rounds. I did parlay that to win that fight there. A TKO was always possibly a late finish for Cannonier. That could have happened. I wouldn't have been totally shocked if it happened. But yeah, Cannonier looked good in there. He looked big, strong. He did have some power on his strikes. Gastelum just one tough son of a bitch, and he shows it time and time again. And you just can't argue with it. He fights the best guys. He hangs in there. He lasts. And Cannonier was just a little more sharper. Look better. Interesting to see what's next for Cannonier. Will he wait around or will he not? Madsen in the co-main, weird co-main, but he did enough. He did enough in the co-main to win the fight. Some people thought Guida won the fight. I don't think he did. He didn't do anything. He barely did anything in the fight. Madsen did enough. Some nice clinches, I think, won him the fight against a cage. He would throw some knees, and he worked the jab well, Madsen. Did he look great? No. I was just totally shocked there was no wrestling in that fight. Sometimes that happens when you have two guys that are really good, let's say a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling. They'll stand up and fight and see who's better. I would have loved to see a wrestling fight. I do think Madsen had the advantage in the wrestling, but he didn't wrestle. So I was a little shocked there. I totally just thought Madsen would be the better wrestler. That's how I explained the fight and went and broke down the fight, that we would see Madsen wrestle. I think most people did. But we seen a striking battle. He got enough to win. I was on a decision there, plus 120, and I did have Madsen in the two-fight parlay. Gave that out to you guys as well. I also gave you guys that Pantoja as a free play. Nice win for him. He may be getting that title shot next. Just remember, Moreno lost to Pantoja early in the career, 2018, sure. But he did lose. You want to think Moreno's going to want that fight again. You're going to have to think that. And Pantoja's up there right now. Obviously, Askarov, but I think Askar... I think he got hurt, if I recall, Askar. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, Pantoja's right there. So that should happen. Moreno actually was in the stands. Pantoja did call him out, so that should be interesting. Let's get into the weekly update, guys. Weekly update. No best bets last week, but we did sweep the card, like I mentioned. We're still 50-28 best bets long term, guys. We're just over. This is almost 2 years now. Almost 2 years. Best bets 50-28. Like I mentioned, the 10-2 run right now for clients, and almost 40 units, plus 40 units long term, guys. Long term winning here with the system. PGA, we just missed out on back-to-back outrights. I had Rom there. He finished 30. He was leading with 2 strokes on Monday, late on Monday on the back 9. But you see what happens when guys lead most of the tournament. They usually don't end up winning the tournament, and that's what happened there. Just missed out on profit last week due to some juice. We were one-on-one in best bets, one-on-one in matchups, one of those type of weeks. I had a couple surprises. Berger was a surprise, and Spieth. Spieth was a surprise as well. Both guys did not play up to standards. So that's why I wasn't able to profit that week. We had a nice run in the greens. I don't know how many weeks it was in a row that we profited, but great numbers in the PGA stays. 2 outright winners in the last 2 months, plus 4,500 both tickets with English and Kisner. 68% best bets. That's just 18 months, guys. That's long term. As you can see, long-term winning with the system. 70% matchup run and over 64 units in the prop market. NFL is around the corner. I have been studying the NFL for the past month now, watching all preseason games. Future plays already sent out to my guys and my clients. Get on board now, guys. It's almost September. I expect a bunch of new clients in the NFL season. You guys see what I do in the NFL. So it'd be crazy not to get on board. You're going to get the PGA, you're going to get the NFL, you're going to get the UFC, you're going to get NHL when it comes back, you're going to get MLB playoffs. It's just madness. Versatile handicapper, I can handicap any sport. You guys should know this by now. All right, guys, let's hear from my friend Meredith before we get started.
Guys, Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Also, guys, check out systemsportscapping.com, systemsportscapping.com. All my records in all sports. Free picks usually every week. Subscription opportunities as well. Like I said, you want to get on board before the NFL season. This is the best time to get on board to profit with me. Before the main card here, I got to go over this Paul and Woodley fight. It is Sunday, guys. I haven't placed a bet yet, but the more and more Woodley goes higher in plus money, I might have to put a small unit bet, because right now you can get Woodley at plus 162. Jake Paul's minus 225, guys. It's ridiculous. Yes, he does have the more boxing experience, but against nobody. So we got to keep that in mind. Yes, he's training mainly for boxing these past 2-3 years. Woodley hasn't. I get that. If this was like a minus 110 fight, I get it. Paul would be the better play. But when you're telling me there's plus 160, if it goes up higher, plus 170, plus 180, I'm going to put a small unit play on Woodley. It's the toughest guy Paul's ever fought. Woodley's been in big fights. He can box. Like, he has some boxing ability. He can strike, and he does have power, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to take a right hand from Jake Paul. Unless, and this is very possible, that it's rigged, the fight. There's possibility, right? If Paul's throwing in an extra million to Woodley under the table, basically if you see a right hand and then Woodley just drops and the fight's ending, you know it's rigged. I'm not saying it is. It's on Showtime. It's a big promotion. But you never know with Paul. That's how he makes money over his years, right? He has money to do that, to pay these fighters under the table. I'm not saying it. That's why I don't really want to bet on anything like this, but I'm going to be watching it. It's very intriguing. It did sucker me in and reel me in like a fishing rod there, but I'm gonna watch the fight, and if it gets any higher, I'll be putting a little wager on Woodley. All right, guys, let's get into the main card. Main card time, and we have a fun main event, guys. It should be fun, at least. We got Barboza minus 125 versus Chikadze plus 105. Plus money now. Yes, plus money. People have been betting the Barboza side. 2 excellent strikers here. 2 excellent strikers, guys. Both guys can finish each other. Both guys have a lot of KOs on their record. I expect a ton of leg strikes in this one as well. Barboza has the edge in experience here, right? Much more MMA fights. I know Chikadze does have a ton of kickboxing fights. It does help, of course, yes. but not a ton of MMA experience. 6-0 in the UFC, very impressive so far for the Georgian, with a couple back-to-back impressive finishes in his last 2 fights. Now, we do have to look at the guys that he's fighting, guys, and he's getting these wins against, right? Realize that this is a big step up in competition for the Georgian. Realize that, right? The fight was a good win versus the vet. His last fight was a good win, right, versus Cub Swanson. But it's Cub Swanson later in his career, and he's not even close to being ranked. He's outside of the top 15. Sure, it's a good win. You know, he caught him with a nice front kick, beautiful front kick that ended the fight in round 1. Previous to that fight, it was a win over Jamie Simmons. Right, he has a win over Amar Morales, was a solid win, but he's never panned out in the UFC, Morales. But he's a good striker. It was a kickboxing style fight, nothing impressive. It was fairly close, but he did win a decision. Erwin Rivera, Jamal Emmers, all smaller names that aren't ranked. He started slow in the UFC too, guys, with a couple split decisions, but he seems to be getting better each fight. He's getting better each fight. He's getting a lot of hype around him. Now, the competition hasn't been getting better, though. Like, if you look at all of his fights, the competition hasn't been getting much better. Cub Swanson's probably the best guy he's fought, right? And that was his last fight. But how much better is Cub Swanson than a few of those other guys I just mentioned? Not a ton better. You know, a lot of experience. So it was a big win for him because he showed that he can beat a vet, right? And he kicked him, and Cub couldn't take a kick. So I don't know how much I was going to, play into that. I thought Cub would try to wrestle, but he didn't have time. He didn't get time to wrestle, right? With Barboza, I think he found something going down in weight here. Very, very impressive performance against Burgos, where he actually got a late stoppage. Burgos is one of the toughest guys in the UFC, guys, right? Back-to-back wins for Barboza. Doesn't get much easier here with a rising star, right, in the Georgian. I haven't seen enough against good competition to go all on Giga here. I love the plus money, don't get me wrong. I love the striker. I just haven't seen enough against top guys like Barboza. I do think if you ask me who's the better striker, kickboxer, I would actually say Giga, the Georgian, slight lean to the better striker. Not by a ton, but I do think he is a better striker. Overall, though, who's the better mixed martial artist? I have to say Barboza. I know we don't see a ton of Barboza wrestling and grappling. He's mainly striking on the feet, and that's what I think this fight will be. I think it most likely will be on the feet for the most part. But don't be surprised if Barboza, at least is what I think he should do. I think he should mix in some grappling and wrestling and see if he can get this down to the ground. Now, maybe he surprises all of us and he just outstrikes the Georgian. I don't see it, though. But I think he could keep up with him. I think if this is just a striking battle on the feet, I think it would be close. But I do lean the Georgian if it's just going to be on the feet. What I like about the Georgian, Giga, very confident. Very confident all week. Says he's a better striker. He called out top 5 guys in his division. He wants the best guys in this division. But he didn't get it. But Barboza, I think he's obviously top 10. I think he's a great fighter. This would be a huge win on his resume. Then he would get a top 5 guy if he just comes in there and knocks out Barboza, which is possible. It's just, I don't know. I can't go all in La Giga just because of the few reasons there. 1, he's never fought 5 rounds. 2, I have rumblings of him getting hurt in training, however he recovered. 3, Barboza's experience, and he's fought the best out of that. Best guy Giga's fought was Cub Swanson. So keep that in mind, guys, right? A lot of people are betting Barboza because of that. Barboza looks refreshed. He's still 35. Is he out of his prime? No, I would say he's at the back end of his prime. But I do think Barboza can win this fight. I do really think it's a 50-50 type fight. So if you ask me who do I take in a 50-50 type, and I see plus money with a rising star and a guy that if he wins this fight, he's going to bounce right up the rankings and fight a top 5 guy, I wouldn't mind putting some plus money on the Georgian here. But I do see Barboza's path to victory. And it it's to make it a mixed martial arts fight and not a kickboxing fight. Very simple, guys. If Barboza mixes it up, I do think he wins this fight. If it's just a striking battle on the feet, I think Giga does enough. Another thing I really like in this fight, I don't see it going all 5, especially if it's just a 5-round striking battle. Barboza's only been 5 rounds once, and Giga's never been 5 rounds. So if these guys are knocking each other, heavy strikes, heavy leg kicks, I don't see this going all 5, guys. So that's a play that I may be on as a client play for this fight not to go the distance. You get it at pretty good price too. Low -120 I'm seeing out there. So I think that's a good bet here. Side's tough, but I see value here with Giga, the Georgian. And it may make my card. I haven't bet it as of yet. Do want to watch the weigh-ins. I do want to see a few other things before I place a bet on the side. But I see value here with the plus money. He just hasn't shown enough in his MMA career yet. But he could just, you only can beat who put in front of you, right? That's a saying. And, Barboza is the best guy he has fought in his career. Let's see if he can get it done and get that huge name on his resume. I think he can. And like I said, I think this is a 50-50 fight. So if you're giving me plus money with a fight that I think should be -110, it makes sense from a value and a line standpoint. So I'll be looking at that plus money. If it gets to +110 or something, it's going to be hard for me to avoid that. But yeah, I don't see this fight going all 5 rounds, guys, unless I see them going all out with the strikes. I don't see them playing it safe here. Let's get into the Ultimate Fighter fights, guys. The finals, starting here in the middleweight finals. Brian Battle -160 versus Urbina +135. Now, this wasn't supposed to be Urbina. I don't know if you guys are following the Ultimate Fighter, but Tristan Gore was supposed to be in this fight. He beat Urbina pretty easily, actually, and he probably looked the best in this whole tournament. Unfortunately, he got hurt. He had to pull out. It's too bad, but we'll see him. We'll see Gore in a few months on the card. He'll get definitely a second shot. Now, Brian Battle looked good as well. He looked good in his wins. He seems fairly well-rounded, in my opinion. And he has a good submission game. However, Urbina does have some good grappling ability. So I don't know if that will get there. What I see Battle doing, standing, jabbing, using his size and length in this fight. That's how I think he wins this. He's the bigger and stronger guy here, in my opinion. I don't love the price at -160. I won't be betting it because of that. This is a fight. It's hard to give you an outcome, decision or KO. I can't really call that. The thing that I am worried, even though I do like Battle, when you're giving a guy a second chance like this, when he shouldn't be here at +135, it's a bit scary. It's not something I love to invest in. When you're seeing something at +135, it's his second chance. It's his, does he lose back-to-back fights and never get a chance in the UFC again? Maybe not, right? If he loses this one pretty handily, lost to Gore pretty handily, I don't think Urbina is going to get another shot. So that's scary a bit. That's keeping me off a bet here. It's keeping me off a bet here. I think this fight should go the distance. I think they may play it a bit safe. Especially if the grappling kind of just, is similar, and not one guy really has the grappling advantage. It just stands on the feet and they just try to use a reach. I don't think either guy has knockout power. So yeah, I think this fight goes over the 2.5 rounds, the distance. But yeah, I lean Battle. You ask me who I think is going to win. I lean Battle. Am I betting Battle? No, just because of what I mentioned in the Urbina spot here. Next fight, guys. This should be a fun one. And it's a little bit difficult one to handicap, but I'll go over a few scenarios that I can see that can happen in here. Now, Turkios -160 versus Brady Hanstein +140. This should be a fun one and a competitive one, in my opinion. Now, Turkios was my favorite fighter in the house. Fun guy to watch with an exciting style. He reminds me of like a younger Tony Ferguson. Fairly well-rounded, very active. Turkos has 13 fights with an impressive 11-2 record compared to Handstand 6-1. 6-1's impressive, but he's young. I think he's 22 only, Handstand. And he did look impressive. And it's mainly due to his wrestling. Very solid wrestler, guys. He worked with Chiesa. Chiesa was in there for one show. He trains with Chiesa specifically, which tells you why he's a good wrestler, right? Even though he's so young. And that's going to be his path to victory, to out-wrestle Ricky. And I think he could. He's going to be, I think, the stronger guy in there and the better wrestler. So if he's able to keep Ricky down, which I don't think he's going to be able to. Ricky is very crafty. I see him, he did get taken down in one fight. He got up, very crafty. He'll throw elbows from the bottom. He's always moving. He's not a guy that's just going to lay there. You know, he's not going to get taken down and just lay there. But I do lean to Brady as the better wrestler. But overall, he has the more experienced Ricky. I think he's better everywhere else besides the wrestling. And if he can stay, you know, out of the wrestling and the grappling, keep it on the feet, you know, maybe even find a submission, I think Ricky gets it done here. Again, not a fight I'm going to bet. I think it's a fight that goes the distance. I can definitely see this fight going all three. Both guys show toughness in their fights. So I would look at that. Again, over 2.5 rounds. Fight goes the distance. And I think Ricky finds a way to get it done. But that wrestling is there for a victory for Brady. It's there. If he's able to hold him down. And I'm not going to be able to tell you 100% if he's going to be able to hold him down. But from what I've seen, Ricky is very active when he gets down. He throws elbows. And he has the experience over Brady. So that's why I like Ricky to find a way here. Love the guy. Favorite guy in the house. And I'd love to see him in the UFC. Even if he does somehow lose this fight to Brady, he's going to be in the UFC. He's going to get another fight. Last fight I'm going to go over here, guys. It is Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is back. Minus 155 versus Rodriguez, plus 130. Not the fight we expected for the return of Lee, but a big spot for Rodriguez to shoot up the rankings, right? He had to accept this fight. Lee has been away for 18 months, which, you know, I don't love, guys. When guys are away, it's 18 months. It's not, you know, anytime it's 2 years and more, I get a little worried. And, you know, with Lee here, we know it's not too of a mystery. It's not a big mystery here. His path is to wrestle and make an MMA fight. You know, Rodriguez's chance in this fight is to keep it standing. Very solid striker, hits hard, and he's tough. He can take a shot. So if this fight stays on the feet for 3 rounds, Lee could be in some danger. If Lee fights smart, comes into this fight with a smart game plan, fights an all-around MMA fight, and uses his wrestling, he should win, right? When Lee is all in, not injured, and focused, he can fight. He can beat anyone, guys. He's fought the best of the best. I think they rushed him. He's fought guys a little too early that he shouldn't have fought in his career. He had some injuries. He's been getting injured a lot. But I do think this is a good spot for him. If he does everything I just mentioned, right? If he uses his whole MMA arsenal, he wins this fight, you know, 9 times out of 10. Rodriguez is taking this on short notice. How much has he been training at the ranch with Cowboy? Not a ton of high-level guys there. Wrestling, I don't know who they really have there regarding the wrestling, but we've seen Rodriguez get taken down before. How good is his takedown defense going to be? We'll have to see. I think this 170 is a good spot for Lee. 170 pounds. Doesn't have to cut as much. He used to cut the 155 and it was too much. He walks around like 185. 170 is perfect. 170 is perfect for Lee. Yeah, I can see this fight going all 3. And I can see this fight being somewhat competitive on the feet. But if it does get to the ground, I think Rodriguez could be in a little bit of trouble. And if Lee does use that game plan, Lee finds a way to win this fight. This may make my card this weekend, guys. Lee may make my card this weekend. My betting card will be out Friday after the weigh-ins, guys. I never place a bet until after the weigh-ins. I suggest you don't either. It's always a smart thing to do. Last 2 main fight, guys, on the last 2 fights on the card, I'm not going to really go over. Minus 525 and minus 575. Both guys should find a way to win. I don't really bet those fights when they're that high. I suggest you don't either unless you can find some value. Jared Mershart could find the submission. He's going to get pieced up on the feet, though. His chin is questionable. You know, Mearshot plus 375. Sprinkle, sure, but I like Muradov. Muradov should find a way there. Mershaw does have the experience and one of the most submissions in the UFC, so he could get it down to the ground. Yeah, sure, he can find a submission, but I won't be betting it. I suggest you guys lay off. All right, guys, like I said, I'll be sending out my betting card to my clients. That's all prelims and obviously a few fights that I went over here that I gave out to you guys for free. Hopefully we give you out more free winners every week. There's a bunch of winners. We went perfect last week. Every week we're finding winners for you guys. Hopefully you are tailing and going over each fight in detail. All right, guys, like I always say, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy the card this weekend.